Section 1. Intro. Hello, I am Andrew Mackay and this is my DES313 prototype presentation. This prototype is called The Observed. My intended player experience is to make the player feel awe through forced perspective and environmental design. My prototype has been guided by such games as Eco, Ratchet & Clank, Mass Effect, Dead Space and Battlefield 1, and research from such sources as Lancaster's Basic Cinematography and a Creative Guide to Visual Storytelling, Zawecki's Show Don't Tell, and Upton's Aesthetic of Play, as well as several other pieces of research, videos, and journal articles included in my DES313 portfolio. Section 2. Overview. An outline of my prototype is that The Observed is a short adventure narrative platformer. The prototype is attempting to tell a story through the environment while having small spikes of challenge through traversal and platforming elements. In short, get from point A to point B through an obstacle course. Section 3. Awe. Following my research, I found some common elements between games that help induce the sense of awe through complex 3D models, texturing, audio, and lighting, as well as a narrative for all of it to exist under. Some elements of awe are more achievable in games than others, such as scale and power rather than spiritual experiences, which are rather rare to have even outside of games. As can be seen, the player has no control over their camera, using forced perspective to show the player what they need to see, for both direction and challenge. Furthermore, using the forced perspective to show the player the environment and some hints to what the underlying story may be, using parts of Zawecki's Show Don't Tell to support my understanding of this aspect. Secondly, the use of collision boxes throughout the first third of the level help the player get used to the controls. This also helps the player maintain their flow state from an early stage of the game and helps prevent frustration for any mistakes. The method of moving is traditional tank controls, W and S to move forward and backwards, with A and D or the mouse to turn the character either left or right. Thirdly, custom models and textures were made to achieve a cohesive theme, such as characters and symbols being represented in multiple places, items, and textures throughout the level. Finally, all these aspects together help the player feel a sense of awe through scale, design, and cinematography. Section 4. Challenges through testing. As discussed in the portfolio, awe is a subjective experience, so testing a vast amount of individuals with a wide range of experiences was needed, both inside and outside of university. Firstly, those with the highest levels of game experience in both professional and general game and game industry knowledge were most critical, looking less for an experience and more for a game. Changes were made to make it more into a platforming game, due to the lack of player interest and lack of understanding of their overall goal. Indicators such as the golden spiral effect and the end summoning ring were made to give players clear goals and direction. Players, out of curiosity and attempts to break the game, would attempt to jump out of bounds or fall from great heights. A kill box was added if players fell off platforms or too far from the intended path. This restarts the level. Secondly, for those with a good amount of experience with games, usually were more captivated at the environments, but noted that the controls for the character were hard to predict, such as the direction the character faced did not accurately display the direction they would move in. A small emissive transparent arrow was added to show the direction the player character would move in. Although this takes away from the spatial presence of the game, it increased the game flow, meaning players would be less frustrated during platforming elements. Thirdly, players with little or no experience with games would often be drawn most by the environment, but may be confused with the controls and the forced perspective, more often getting lost in the environment that was in front of them rather than keeping track of the character on the screen. A spotlight was added to slightly illuminate the character and help with depth perception. This also assists with platforming as it highlights both the player character and the ground. Finally, some players were confused at the player character's model, as it was the default Unreal mannequin and did not fit the theme and fell out of place. This wasn't changed due to time and the complex nature to change the player model, as the intended model was supposed to be a blindfolded child in tattered clothes, to further the feeling of being small and weak in a large and unknown world. Section 5. Conclusion. The observed shows the subjective nature of awe. Over 20 separate people with mixed backgrounds and game experiences tested the prototype. Overall, the response was very broad, and the main similarities being that it feels like Shadow of the Colossus or Dark Souls, and the feelings of being small and unsettled. Although the subjective nature of awe initially made it a challenge to fully understand how to achieve such a goal, like some game genres, some players are more prone to feeling emotions and happier to play a slower experience, whereas others, without an immediate hook, can become bored and attempt to test the game's limits, such as jumping off the map or trying to get out of bounds. The prototype and the player experience goal was successful for a number of players, but unsuccessful for others. But this is to be expected, as awe itself is a subjective experience. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching.